Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I'm your host, Al Richards, and we are joined today by someone that you guys may recognize. She has been on the show. Actually, she was on the show about 6 months ago, this past April. And we have Amanda on the show. Amanda, thank you so much for taking time and coming back on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me here. You guys are awesome. I've been watching you, what you're doing out there, working as like a power couple. I love it. So I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And gosh, I've had the honor of 2 weeks in a row of having my lovely wife join me as the co-host. So thank you. Thank you for being here today.
I'm happy to be here.
Greatly appreciate it. So yeah, it's great having you by my side. And my gosh, Amanda, probably so many things has happened in all our lives, right? In the last 6 months.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I follow you a lot on Facebook. You know, you do a lot of posts and I follow your stuff and I'm pretty sure I shared this last time. It's you know, there's a lot of great things about you, Amanda. Man, there's one, that freaking smile of yours.
Oh, yes.
I mean, how it cannot light up someone's day is beyond me. And
I was just going to mention that.
Seriously.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that.
Yeah, you have a very
Love your smile.
infectious smile that's, I mean, I'll just be honest, and I hope my wife's not a jealous person anyway, but, you know, there's times I'll pull your stuff up just so I can see your smile.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's like, this is just so freaking amazing because it lightens my day and smile and hugs, man, I think they're the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're underrated. Like there's never a moment when I like make eye contact with someone in the store and you know, and I like it, there's a lot of intention behind it, right? Smile and try to make sure that they know that some stranger just smiled at them for no reason, because it really does change people's days a lot of the time. So
yeah,
it sure does.
Yeah, it really does. I remember, and the first time I realized that, I was in a Costco. I was working for one of the Chamber of Commerce, local Chamber of Commerce, and I had to go into Costco to talk to them about seeing if they'd like to be members. And there was this cute little young gal behind the counter, and she come up, she goes, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd like to talk with the manager or the person in charge," and told her who I was. And she got on the phone and she goes, and with a smile, she goes, "He will be right down. If you just have a little bit of patience, please, he'll be right with you." She gave me this big smile. And immediately I said, "You know what? You just made my freaking day." And she looked at me like I was trying to hit on her. And I says, "That freaking smile of yours is so beautiful." And I bet you, I think we even went wider. And she was walking around that whole time. I was watching her as I was talking with her manager, and she was just like beaming. And I'm like, that one little teeny small comment just made that gal's day.
Yep.
You know? So yeah.
absolutely. Never stop saying those, even when you don't want to say it.
Yeah. So, man, we talked before the show. We're just going to see where this one goes, right? We're just going to throw some stuff out there. I know you mentioned you want to talk a little bit about trauma. It's, if you don't mind, what's been happening in your life since you were on last April?
Yeah, wow. So, gosh, there's been a lot. Last April, I met with you right before my second Bridge the Gap event. And we took it to Indiana this time. And Bridge the Gap, we just go around to different communities around the country and kind of pick out different organizations and people that are doing outreach work within the community and kind of showcase what they're doing and just link them together, right? So after we did Indiana, and it was amazing. It was just a beautiful experience. I got baptized the night before our event by a pastor who I found online and did some mentoring with, and he baptized me in his church in Indiana, and it was just a really awesome experience. But so last time, gosh, this is a difficult one. I don't talk much about my marriage, right? Because it's just, the other party is still working through their stuff. And I feel like they should have the opportunity to tell their story as it is. So it's always kind of a battle of mine, right? Like where do I tell what's mine to tell? And what can I tell? What's appropriate that still leaves him that opportunity to be able to tell his story later without, any pressure or people or harshness, kind of taking from that, right? So I have been in a long distance or a long-term relationship with my husband for over 13 years. We have 2 beautiful children together. And we were only recently married, I believe 4 years ago. But I was an addict with him. I went through the harder stages of my addiction, where I was using crack cocaine and heroin and selling all of our belongings for drugs, right? And he was kind of on that other side of addiction, right? He was on that other side to where, he was the one that was, it was like a full-time job for him, right? And he was going through, I think we look at people who struggle with addiction and we feel a lot of sympathy and empathy for them, right? But the other side, right? There's a whole nother story that's happening for that person. And he very much so was intertwined in all of that chaos, having to, go out to the garage and look for the ladder and see that it's gone and wonder where it went, right? And just so many little things like that. When my phone would ring, is that a drug dealer? And it's like a full-time job of him trying to keep tabs on my addiction, right?
It's like we become addicted to their addiction, right?
Yeah, 100%. And so the very first half of our relationship, we had no established boundaries. It was very toxic, lots of fighting. And I mean, it was passion, right? That fiery, angry, passionate type of, fist fights and just ridiculous, crazy, toxic circumstances in every aspect. So I got clean in 2015. He was not speaking to me throughout the 8 months. I wasn't allowed to see my daughter. I wasn't allowed to, speak to him at all. Any contact I had was with his mother. And trust me, it was everything that I needed. I don't hold any resentment or anything towards him because it was what saved my life. Missing my children like that and not having access to them was what made me get my shit together. So we ended up getting back together at some point. I got pregnant, stayed clean all throughout that time. Well, I've been clean ever since then, right? So, but since then, in my recovery, because I'm clean now, I'm noticing a lot of anger issues, violence and aggression and things that are happening to my children and myself that I was too busy feeling like the guilty party to notice these things in the beginning of our relationship, right? They've always existed, but I just was not the parent that I am right now then. I spent the last 6 years trying to make it work and to establish boundaries between the 2 of us, and to find some kind of balance within our parenting, because there's a huge difference. He's still kind of in that. Before I was the parent that I have now, there was a thoughtlessness to my parenting, right? I didn't think about the things that came out of my mouth and how they were going to affect my children as adults. I didn't think about the things I was doing and saying and acting out in front of my children, and that those were going to affect my children for every day for the rest of their lives as adults, right? So it just got really, really difficult. There was still alcohol involved, which when he drank was violent and extremely violent. And it got out of hand. So, I have been on my public platforms. A lot of people, know that I'm kind of back and forth because I was the stupid girl running home to, the abuser or whatever the whole, narrative was for everyone else. So really, I had a lot of unfinished business to close up within those times. I can't possibly leave a situation and be okay with my children going to this home and being alone in that home where I can't protect them, right? So things that I felt that I had to do, try to help him find help in ways. We did end up going to a counseling session days before Bridge the Gap in Indiana. And I remember sitting in an office with a very intelligent, accomplished woman. She's gone to school, she's become a psychologist and done all of the things that brought her to this place. And she's completely okay sitting there listening to this conversation between him and I, and hearing him kind of talk about things that he'd only ever admitted to me, right? And kind of hearing these things being said in front of another human being. It was like, it just hit me completely different. And I felt something snap, right? Like I could almost feel something in me just snap. So I go back to my mom's because I left there 30 days ahead of time. I'm so used to the cycle. I knew I had to leave to get my brain back in work mode and being able to function properly away from the chaos, right? So I went back to my mom's after that therapy appointment, and went to my event in Indiana that weekend. And I believe I was in a nervous breakdown, right? But God, right? Carried me all the way there, carried the entire event, all of the guests and everybody that came, showed up, spoke, did their stuff. And it was just this beautiful experience and this amazing weekend that was all orchestrated by God, right? Like I didn't have anything to do with it. And I knew that while I was in it. I was free falling. Didn't have any idea where I was going to land. So the event finishes and we hit Sunday, and I can't bring myself to go home and lose this, this divine connection with God that I've tapped into somehow through this baptism and this really awesome experience with people in recovery, right? And so I can't go home, and I took my son. I had brought my oldest son with me to that event. I took him home to Pennsylvania and got on a flight the next day, and left my children in Pennsylvania. And I came to Wisconsin with a friend, and had no idea what I was going to do, where I was going to stay, how I was going to function, but I knew it needed to happen. So during that time, I think I was here 2 months without my children. And during that time, it was just, I was in treatment. I wound up getting a room at a sober living facility here in Wisconsin, through someone I've known through networking online. And I have been here ever since. I stayed here for 2 months trying to gain the courage to do the things I knew that I needed to do. I couldn't break away from this situation, staying in the same area. I had tried for years, so it's time to try something different. My children were going through a lot with the back and forth, right? Constantly going home and then getting ripped out of their home again and having to not see their dad and having to not see their mom. And So I just kind of removed myself from the equation, and took off to go get my shit together, right? So
Yeah.
we are here together now, and it's I'm sure my goals and things that I told you I had planned for 2022 back in April were much different than they turned out to be. Because I have been working my ass off for years to be able to purchase a home for my children and create the stability that they need and deserve from me. And that just didn't work out. It didn't pan out that way. So we are here in Wisconsin, all of us, staying in a little 1-bedroom. It's like a motel that they turned into a sober living facility. I enrolled my children in school here. So they have been going to school and they attend trauma meetings and codependency meetings. And, it's just kind of been I can't stop them from being around this type of behavior or being exposed to it. So I need to prepare them on how to function and be emotionally capable human beings despite it, right?
Mhm.
So Amanda, when you said all of you are there in Wisconsin, that's your husband including?
No,
Okay.
just myself and the children,
All
sorry.
right, that's what I was thinking, but I just wanted to make that clear because I'm like, well, she wants to get away from that toxic. So yeah, I
Yeah.
get it now. Okay.
Yeah. So we're here. We're working on trauma with the kids. My first event was in Pennsylvania, and it was very much focused around trauma, and how just raising awareness to normal people in society that can also be affected. And PTSD it's not strictly designated to the war or to combat or to the military, right? Like people can be living in a home in middle America and endure some kind of trauma and suffer PTSD from that, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of like an eye opener, really raising awareness for that for other people to really recognize the ways it was affecting me in my life personally. And so I've spent the last couple, years kind of focused on that and really taking time to notice the ways I respond to these trauma, these things that these trauma responses, right? Like it's a trauma response for me to be in a restaurant and my kid's yelling and acting like a kid, and I'm, completely triggered because he's yelling and we don't want to upset dad, right? Or there's just a lot of ways that we're affected, and changed and altered. My state of being is altered a lot of times by worry and things that I can let go of, right? Like I can let go of that. I can now go to a restaurant with my children and sit at a table and work through my emotions as far as, recognizing that the only reason it's bothering me is because of something that's happened to me in the past, a traumatic event, whatever that was. So it's not going to happen to me right now. I can change and alter the way that I am, because when I am trying to quiet my children and, just be quiet, sit there and be seen and not heard, that is also abusive from me.
Yeah.
So it's just really a full-blown, this is all we've done this year. Really, we had our event, and then this year I just have to stop doing all of the stuff, so much, and do this stuff here and with my kids. And so yeah, it's been pretty exciting, man. How about you? How was your year?
It sounds like it. I mean, and I think what a blessing that's coming out of this too is, Amanda, that you've recognized this, because so many of us
Mhm.
get trapped and we stay there for so long, and when you were talking about PTSD, when Jeanette was in one of the recovery centers here, I had an opportunity to visit with the person that was working with her,
Therapist.
or therapist, and she interviewed me, and she basically told me afterwards that I had a form of PTSD.
Mhm.
and you nailed it, because a lot of people do think it comes from the war, or like our first responders and things like that. It can come from your home, it can come from your workplace, and it's the drama that you are coming home to on a daily basis. And that explained a lot to me after I was told that, because I did a lot of networking stuff. And when I go into a networking room, I am just like full of energy, going around smiling, hugging everyone. And I've got all this energy. And before, when I left, I still had all that energy. But then I got to a point to where as soon as I'd leave, I'd be just freaking exhausted. And that's because I was putting on a front. I wasn't really being the person who I really was. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand why my moods were changing so quickly. And it was because I had the PTSD, so it's really, really good that you recognized it. And I say another plus is, man, good for you for getting the kids out of the situation and now putting them in classes to learn how to deal with the trauma and different things like that. Because so many of us, and especially the majority of our guests that we have interviewed on our show, they've gone through some kind of trauma in their life. And of course, they, some fall to porn, some fall to eating, some fall to gambling, some go to drugs, some go to alcohol. And basically, all it is just a Band-Aid to help them feel good for that little short time, which ends up causing the cut to fester even more and more and more. And you just keep putting more Band-Aids over it until they're piled up so damn high. There's, you don't know what to do next. And you've recognized that. So I tip my hat off to you to recognize this and get the help for your kids.
Yeah. You're definitely breaking the pattern there by,
just getting ready to say,
giving them resources to be able to cope with this kind of trauma.
Yeah.
Well, my mom, right? I watched her for years. Like an old house that's been painted over and over and over again, but the paint's never been scraped off, right? They just paint over it.
Right.
And the way it starts to look, and it's layered, and that's how I've watched my mom, right? With her trauma and the things that she's gone through. She was molested by her father, right? At a very young age. And then from then on, just years and years and years and layers and layers and layers. And so much trauma that's gone completely unacknowledged because she thinks that she doesn't need PTSD therapy. She didn't fight in Afghanistan and fight for our country. And, these are things in her mind. She tells herself that she's not worthy of the type of treatment that she needs because of a stigma that is in her brain, and she doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, that's just something that you think. You don't know that. Like, there are actual
Sounds a lot like
PTSD coaches all over the country who work with people on just this, right? Like, this is huge. So it's definitely, and any type of trauma, I heard a guy tell me recently, his babysitter slammed his fingers in the door, and that was his trauma, and that's his trauma, right? Like, that's the worst thing that happened to him, and we can't take that from him or try to take it from him. And if we do, what's the point, right? Let them feel their trauma.
Well, I'm glad that you said that, because we've talked about this on a couple shows. Society has molded us that it's not okay to show our emotions. It's not okay to cry. It's not okay to be upset. It's not okay to feel depressed, and us as human beings, this is how we are built, right? This is how we are built. We have to experience all these things to understand the other things. And for people to, and I'm just as guilty. I'm not saying I'm not, because I am. It's that fear of being judged. What are people going to think of me? And I was brought up to where, don't you dare cry, because if you do, I'll give you a reason to cry. Well, you don't want me to cry, but you're going to give me a reason to cry. Okay, make freaking sense of that. And there's a lot of guys, the suicide rate for men are climbing. And it's because of the old fashioned way of you freaking suck it up, you hold it in, you don't talk about
Be
it,
a man.
be a man, and you just keep going forward. And that's how society has shaped us, and it's wrong, and it needs to be shared. So like all the things that you're doing with, paying the purpose and holding your event, the Bridge to Gap, and a lot of the other amazing podcasts that are out there, whether it has to do with addiction or not, it's people coming out and sharing their stories, and it needs to be told. And we have to get rid of that freaking judgment, because
Yeah.
we've all gone through shit. All of us have, some worse than others. Because, man, I've talked to some people on the show where I'm going, man, if that happened to me, I'd probably be a drug addict also. And then you have your next guest that comes in, you're going, wow, that story just beat the shit out of the last one. Holy cow, and then you get another one, you're like, well, that just beat the shit out of the last two, and we're so busy being afraid of being judged. And it's time that the people start speaking up. And I say that with authority today on this show. And I get emotional because we had a guest that didn't show up this morning on a show, and it was through a Zoom again. And I hope everything's okay on her end, because I still haven't heard anything. And yesterday she's like, I'll be there. And I had a meeting with a recovery place here in downtown Salt Lake. It's called the Other Side Academy. It's a 2.5-year program. Awesome program.
It looks like she's heard of it.
We love the individuals that run it. We've had a ton of guests that come there. Well, Robin, who works there, said she'd come in and be the guest co-host today. And it's so crazy because a couple of months ago, she said, man, Al, I'd love to interview you. I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, that would be kind of a cool show. Everything we talked about this morning just happened today. I shared my story for the very first time. I shared my story of my cocaine use and my drinking on the weekends and hiding it from my wife, and all the years I've done. And I've only shared tidbits of my life on our show because our guests like yourself are being vulnerable, and they're talking about a part of their life and parts that they're not very proud of. I mean, I wasn't proud of my life back then either. And why shouldn't I do that same thing? And I'm shouldn't on myself, but really it's true. And Janan happened to walk into the studio, and she was just like in awe. She's like, holy shit, he's actually telling me a story, and it's just, yeah, it's time that people hear, and it's not who I am anymore. It's not who you are anymore. It's not who she is anymore. It's just a part of their life that's gone and passed, and all of us are working hard on being better and helping other people. And there are so many people out there suffering from trauma, all types of trauma. Yeah. And with people like yourself that, do your organizations and do your shows and things like that, man, that's huge, because the more of us that do that, society is going to start opening their eyes, and they're already starting to.
They do, yeah.
People are already starting to get it, right? Yeah. And I think people are also starting to realize, you talked about the grace of God, how everything happened because of God. And I told in my story that I remember looking in the mirror, on a weekend that I was all freaking cocained up and drinking, and just telling God, man, please help me, because I know this. And I only did it two nights a week. That's all it was, a Friday and a Saturday. And I knew the direction it was going to take me. And here it is since 2009. Now look where my life's at, and it's crazy because I went from one side to somewhere different, and Janan fell off the edge. And it's almost like we've been working our asses off, just like you have, to find ourselves, find out who we are and what our purpose is. And, so again, like Janan said too, Amanda, you're breaking that cycle. You're giving your kids an opportunity to not fall into the drugs or alcohol or other addictions. There's so many other types of addiction, because you're giving them those tools already at such a young age, and that's huge.
Very huge.
They will know, they will understand.
Yeah.
I think it's huge. There's times where, and I get it, right? Like when our kids cry, it hurts us. When our kids are in pain, it hurts us. There's a thoughtlessness that's underneath that, right? If we get mad and we tell our children not to cry and not to feel because of our own selfish reasons, they are going to suffer for it later. There is a whole world of people out there who feel bad for feeling, who feel bad for the things that make them special and gifted. Those years where you guys were in your active addiction, those were years that you were building who you are now, right? Like you were creating and going through an experience you needed to be able to help and live out your purpose in the way that you need to and that you will, that God has planned for you, right?
Yeah.
So
sure.
those days and those weekends, like there's not ever a moment where I look back on my story now today and feel shame. Like there was a long time ago, but at this point in my life, I fully understand that those days and those horrible things that I did were the only reason that I am who I am today, right?
Amen.
So feel empowered in your storytelling and all of that, because it really does, like you're feeling that shame from telling your stories. You feel that in the very beginning, but you start, it's like a workout, you get stronger each time, right? And then you don't even notice that it's like you're not ashamed of it at all anymore. And you're like, wow, like I'm really not ashamed of the fact that I was a crackhead once. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's totally cool. Like there was a time I was on a beach body. I did like beach body when I first started my workout stuff. I'm on like a beach body team call with all these like moms, they're like drinking their wine and like, eating pumpkin spice shit or whatever. Like they're all like talking about something. And at one point, I think the conversation was working out too much, right? Is it an addiction? And I was like, well, it's better than sticking a needle in my neck every day, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And there was like 15 screens on the Zoom, right? And all of their faces were like, and they were just like, it was completely like, it's like a shameful thing to people in the very beginning, but now today I'm like, yeah, I'm empowered in that. I can feel empowered in the fact that I was a crackhead once. Like it's cool.
And that's not who you are today, right? I mean,
No.
you are a totally different person. And how many times, I mean, I'm a person that I love watching documentaries. I really find it interesting. And I don't know how many times I've watched something on an actor or a singer or just someone famous where, they rose up to fame and they thought they had the world by the balls. And the ball, and the world let them know, I just got your balls in a vice, basically. You don't have shit, right?
In a vice, yeah.
And they end up losing everything. But it helped them grow.
Yeah.
Now you see who they are today, and they're a totally different person. And a lot of them lost everything. And it helped them actually get back to where they're back on top, but they don't look at themselves on top anymore. They look at themselves, I had to experience this, so now I can go through and help someone else. And that is what's so cool about even being in the addiction realm of things. It is so cool to see how many people have gone through what they've gone through and then turned around and come out on top to where, I mean, we had a gentleman on our show that said, giving back to others is my new high. He just gets a free
Yeah.
And it's so cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, it is. And to see you also, right? Like you work on your podcast and you get to see all these people like, oh, like I can't tell you, all day, every day, I'm surrounded by incredible human beings who are doing incredible things for their community. It's just such a beautiful thing to experience. And I never would have had that if I wasn't an addict, right? Like I wouldn't have that today. This was good stuff, man.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, the producer was walking in and, hey, we're gonna have to take a quick break. We got something going on with one of the mics, so we're gonna take a quick break and then we'll come right back.
Have you ever been in a car accident? Do you know what to do after being in a car accident? Are the insurance companies going to take care of you? Hi, I'm attorney Rick Heaton with the Law Office of Bobby Udall. I will help you through the process and answer all of these questions. I give every single client my cell phone so they can talk to me whenever they need. Let me deal with the insurance company so you can focus on getting better from your injuries. Call me at 385-330-0226. Again, my cell phone number, 385-330-0226. Don't call the insurance company first. Call attorney Rick Heaton at 385-330-0226.
Hello, my friends. This is Brad Neufeld, and I want to thank you for tuning in to the Resilience Talk Network. You can listen to my show, Resilience, every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. On my show, we will be discussing what it takes for you to overcome the day-to-day challenges that all of us face in life, as well as some of the devastating ones that may lead us to feelings of hopelessness and despair. It's my goal to provide you with the tools and skills that you need to overcome anything that is thrown your way. To find out more about my show, visit our website at www.resiliencetalk.com. That's www.resiliencetalk.com. And as always, until we meet again, go for everything that you want in life and make it happen. Hello there, this is Brad Neufeld with the Resilience Talk Network, and I would like to introduce to you Taffytown, one of our newest sponsors. Let me introduce you to Derek.
Hi, I'm Derek from Taffytown. We're proud sponsors of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Taffytown is a family-owned and operated business still operating in the Salt Lake City area for over 100 years. We manufacture some of America's best saltwater taffy.
What makes Taffytown stand out from all of the others?
We have a unique recipe, a whipped-style recipe that incorporates egg whites, evaporated milk, real sea salt. It's a unique product that is flavorful, melts in your mouth, and the best part is we probably have a flavor for anyone's liking, a flavor for any reason, for any season. We have unique flavors like chicken and waffles, maple bacon, frosted cupcake. New this year was a pineapple ghost pepper flavor.
That's awesome. Where can people find out more about Taffytown and all of its products?
You can check all of this stuff out. All of our products are available for sale on taffytown.com. We ship for free from our website, so all of our pricing on there is shipping included. Oftentimes we offer special promotions and discounts to our loyal customers, so do be sure to sign up for an account. And we look forward to seeing what we can do to make you smile with our taffy.
Where are you located?
We are currently located at 9813 South Prosperity Road in West Jordan, Utah, just at the foothills of the Copper Canyon mine.
Derek, taffy has always been a great gift to give. What are some of the creative ways Taffytown can help say thank you to others?
Yeah, if you're looking for gift ideas, whether to say thank you to friends or family, or maybe to your clients after such a difficult or successful year that you've had, you could look no further than to get a gift idea from taffytown.com. We offer pre-packaged gift boxes that say that it's saltwater taffy from the city of the Great Salt Lake, and it tells a little bit about the history of our community and making candy for so long. You can also do customized gifts to pick out just the right flavors or colors of candy for that special someone and deliver even a personalized message in that box to them. So please feel free to check out taffytown.com for any gift ideas this season.
Thank you so much, Derek. Please visit taffytown.com, that's taffytown.com, to find out more about the products and services that Taffytown offers. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know someone who's gambling with death due to an addiction? Do you know someone whose life is being turned upside down due to a loved one that's battling with addiction? Hi, I'm Al Richards. I am the host of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. I started the podcast due to my wife's battle with alcohol. Let's just say I became addicted to her addiction. Our podcast is helping people understand a little more about those who have battled addiction and those who are hurting from their addiction. Through raw vulnerability, we share stories that help uncover the root causes of addiction. Shame felt on both sides, matter of the conscious and subconscious mind, continued beliefs, and often confusing paths of recovery. We collaborate with real people and their stories, as well as licensed professionals, to help our audience gain a better understanding of addiction. You can find us on Resilience Talk Network. You can also find us on Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. That's Facebook at Mr. Al Richards. You can also find us on YouTube. Just look up the Other Side of Addiction podcast. Welcome back to the Other Side of Addiction podcast. We are here with our amazing guest, Amanda Marker. So Amanda, she was on our show about 6 months ago, back in April. And just to give you a little history about Amanda, she also does a show called Pain to Purpose. And both Jeanette and I have had the honor of being guests on her show.
Yes, we have.
And I would highly, highly recommend watching her show because she has some great people on her show. She's a great interviewer. She's full of freaking energy and inspiration. And I would highly recommend just getting on just so you can check out her smile. Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Oh, you guys are the best.
Yeah, just get on so you can check out her smile. So and we've got my wife Janine joining us today. So thank you, babe, for being here. Appreciate it. And so my gosh. In the last 6 months, so many things have happened in your life. And really, I mean, since the last time you were on the show, Jeanette and I, we've gone through quite a bit, you know.
Yeah.
We ended up doing an event, our very first event back in August, and it was called the Healing Utah Success Summit. And we did it with our good friend, Dave DeRocher, who's the executive director from the Other Side Academy, another good friend, Mallory Roosh, who highly, highly recommend her book, Inspired to Recover. I tell you what, I haven't had a chance to read it yet, and I know her story. Jeanette read it, and she goes, that was such a kick-ass book.
Yeah. It was one of the best recovery books I ever read. So
yeah. So if you get a chance and you're looking for a good book to read, I don't know if you're a reader, but I'd get on Amazon and check out Inspired to Recover. And literally it'll have you in tears with what her story's about. But we did this event in St. George, which is about 300 and something miles south of Salt Lake City. And for our first one, I'd have to say it was a success. We didn't bring in as many people as we were hoping. However, we still brought people in. So to me, that's a success, right? I mean, even if we only filled 5 seats, which we filled more than that, but even if we filled 5 seats, it was a success. And we all got up and told our stories. We had Q&A afterwards. And that whole frickin' weekend, I think I was on frickin' cloud 9 high for at least a couple weeks.
for sure. Yeah.
And
Me too.
that weekend inspired Jeanette to say, you know what? I am going to see what it takes to be a certified peer support specialist.
Yes,
So she is now certified as a peer support specialist.
Yep.
So she still hasn't gotten a job in the realm because I'm just going to say it. The state shit around here sucks.
Yeah.
how the state can approve someone to be certified, but then they don't allow her to get a job because of her record. You know, it's bullshit. And I'm just going to say it. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Wow.
You get someone so excited who now wants to go out there and help other people in recovery, you know, because those who are in recovery, they are the best teachers because they've
Yeah.
lived it. They've walked it. They understand, they know. And there's a lot of people that she could be helping already,
Absolutely.
you know, but because she has an assault charge on her record, she's voodoo. Nope, can't hire you. Sorry, state won't allow us. But yet they allowed her to be certified. So basically it's like I go to school to be a doctor and I get all my diplomas and all this stuff fancy and I can hang on the wall, but yet no one will hire me
Yeah.
because, you know,
Our good friend was talking about that too at dinner the other night. And
yeah,
he was saying that you can go to school and get a, CSW, clinical social work license,
Mhm.
but you still can't practice it if you have a background. It doesn't make any sense.
I know
Doesn't
why.
make any-
Wow.
Because of this, they get their money for one thing, right? That's all that they care about. It's the money because you have to
Well,
pay.
it didn't
right?
cost me any money to do that though.
Oh, okay. I thought it did. Oh,
Sorry.
Okay. I thought it did.
But I really appreciate how passionate you are about
Yeah,
this.
because it pisses me
You
off,
stick
right?
up for me.
Well, don't let it discourage you. Something that I think that is a skill of mine at this point is not caring about any of that shit, right?
Yeah.
So when I started doing my online meetings, there were many, many people who were like, oh, you can't do that. You're going to get in trouble. I even had a board member tell me that I was completely irresponsible, and that what I should be doing should land me in jail. And it was just completely asinine to me, right? We can innovate. We have to innovate, right? The people, the
Right.
organizations that I go looking for to help are not the big ones that are backed by insurance companies and big pharma. I'm looking for the people who have gone out and innovated, created, cultivated all on their own, despite what everybody else in their community is saying to them, right? So
Right.
fuck
Yeah.
all those, oh, excuse my language, sorry. Screw all of those people who are telling you you can't do any of that, because you having that certification now, you could go into any of my groups and find people to help online, do networking. I have meetings that need people to lead them. There are many, many avenues that you can get in and fulfill that it's like your purpose. You feel like it's your purpose and you want to be doing it and acting out and helping people,
Yeah.
but you're like stuck between all these guidelines and these rules and shit, right? But
Yeah.
don't let it stop you, because that fire that you're feeling to go do this, like that, there's a big reason for that. So don't let other people and their worldly limitations keep you from doing the God's work that you already know you're supposed to be doing. So
Okay, thank
Great.
you.
Great advice, right?
Yeah.
girl,
Did that help you?
Yeah.
Because today you were almost saying maybe,
Well, yesterday I was-
Well, yesterday,
yeah.
maybe I just
I'm
throw
just
my
done.
hands up.
I'm
Yeah.
just done trying.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, the gentleman who told me, I spent a long time because I had to go. I got off of the meeting and considered going and getting certified and getting all my people certified who run my meetings. But really it just wasn't what I wanted to do. But this person, was just somebody who was telling me I was unable. He was giving me these limitations, handing them to me, saying, you can't do this because I feel I can't do it, right? He says, I'm a certified peer support specialist. So at some point he was where I was, feeling unqualified to do something and felt like he needed to go out and do that. And that's fine, but it doesn't make it, any
For
better
everybody.
just because you
Right.
have a certification or an insurance company backing you. So the people that you help in the ways that you guys are already involved in your community out in Utah, you have plenty of, I want to say resources, right? Because you guys, I'm sure, have interviewed somebody who runs a treatment facility or that has meetings somewhere and they might need help, or somebody to help volunteer within their organization. Network with those people, do the things, you don't need the state to back you on anything,
Yeah.
girl.
Okay.
Amen to that. And I really do believe, I went to a networking group a couple of weeks ago north of Salt Lake, and everyone that goes to this networking group, it's a recovery type network group. And everyone that goes there either works at a facility or they're involved with the facility somehow, some way. And one of the gals, Jessie, I think it was Jessie, that came up, and I was telling her what was going on. And she was saying, Jeananne needs to find a place that just does recovery, for drugs and alcohol, not mental health, because that's when the state gets involved. And she goes, if you can find a place that just does recovery, they don't do background checks. They're looking for someone who has been through recovery themselves. That's their certificate, right? Because they've lived it. So
Right.
I think we just need to do some more researching and get
Yeah.
the word out there some more. And because Utah has the most recovery centers per capita than any other state. We are just loaded with them. They're and there's new ones popping up.
All
I
the
would
time.
say every freaking month.
Yeah.
They're
There's a lot of
popping up
money in
everywhere.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a lot of money.
Which
There
is
is a lot
unfortunate.
of money. Yeah. And there are some really good ones out there. There's some out there that really care about the people that come through the doors. And then, yes, there are others. They're looking at the money going, my gosh, look how much money I can make,
Off this person staying sick.
right.
Yeah.
Right. And basically have repetitive income, because the majority of the time they will relapse and they're going to come right
It's
back.
like that movie we watched that one
Body
time.
brokers?
Remember?
Which movie?
The
Body
movie that-
brokers?
Which
What
one?
was it?
Are you talking about body brokers?
Body-
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't watch it with
I
me.
don't think I've seen it.
There's black gentleman, and he goes out to he like wanders the country, and he finds people that are really, really like, I'm sure you saw.
Oh,
Yes,
I remember
yes.
it now. It's coming to my
they're really,
yes.
like,
Yep, I
bad
know
deep
exactly.
into it.
Yeah.
An
And
insurance
so
scam.
he brings them back in, and then he teaches them what he's doing, and they go out and do it, and half of them die. And yeah.
Well, because with the way the insurance scam is set up, your $100,000 cap starts back at zero if the person relapses. So they get to go into a treatment facility, get to charge insurance up to $100,000, and then they can go, oh, we know this treatment facility over here, we can send them there. And then they can start back at zero and get all those charges again every week, right?
Yep.
Well, the trick is that they have to relapse. So I have personally spoken to many people, investigative journalists and people who have been touched by this and have lost loved ones who have died in dirty motel rooms when they were 3 years clean, doing all the right things. But
Right.
yeah, so that movie is an
Yes.
actual real life thing that's happening out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
almost like
and it
dope.
was-
It's almost like dope sick.
Yeah. It was the saddest thing too, because
Mhm.
that kid had it all together. Finally, he was great.
Yeah.
And then that jerk put freaking heroin in his, or
Yeah.
gave him heroin to give to somebody else
Yep.
Yeah.
just to kill him.
It's awful.
It
And-
is.
And that's where it's difficult, but your friend who gave you that advice to find somebody who's just, the recovery aspect, once the insurance companies are involved and you can charge someone up to $100,000, like it's gonna get crooked and iffy, you know what I mean? But like,
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who are doing recovery coaching, and they sell coaching packages, and they do 6 to 9 month programs with people on Zoom and online, and like that are actually in it because they have passion. They're passionate about it, not because it's a money maker, right? Or
Right.
because yeah, it's a problem. We have people that are like, if I take methadone, I'm worth a lot of money to people, right?
Mhm, right.
I'm worth a lot of money to people if I'm taking methadone and if I'm sick and unwell and not doing well.
And you'll just
So-
keep coming back.
Right. It's
sure.
like a revolving door. It's
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I would,
Oh, go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I would love to get more information on how to do it online.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do
that'd
it,
be
girl. Yeah. This is awesome. You guys have already got your stuff. Like, I think if you, right, like your other side of addiction, you guys have done a lot of networking already. Like, you already have this giant wall of like recovery that's just like protecting you, right? So
Mhm.
anywhere you guys want to be able to dabble and like, you've already done that. You probably had someone on your podcast, had a conversation and had somebody be vulnerable and share their story with you, who could use a volunteer or could use help within their organization, right? So
Yeah.
you got this. You guys are already
Yeah.
in.
There's Amanda's right. There's a lot of different areas, we're
Yeah.
probably just not digging deep enough. Maybe we've hit a rock and we'll just have to put some dynamite on that rock and see what's underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jared out in Jared Miller.
Yes. Yeah. Out in
St.
St. George.
Jared Miller,
Yeah.
And Tyler Hansen and all them.
Yep.
Yep.
I've only met Tyler just briefly. But yeah, Jared knows our friend Mallory. Matter of fact, Mallory's going to be on a show again here, just here shortly. And Janan and I had the opportunity to be on Jared's show when we were down there for our summit. Jared, him and his
awesome.
wife came in and interviewed
One
us.
more of those inspiring things. That
Yeah.
got me on this
Jared.
path.
Jared is an awesome dude, man. He's come a long ways, and we were very grateful to be introduced to him, and even his wife is just an awesome lady.
Yeah.
It's so cool to be in this area. Janan even was saying a couple of weeks ago that she's so grateful that I basically have put my feet in kind of her
In
part,
recovery,
in the
recovery world.
recovery. So, yeah. Do you need a chat with the kids for a second?
Sorry, guys, my kiddos
No worries.
here.
No worries. You're a full-time mom too, so we get it. It's all good.
All right, I'll be out in just a minute, okay?
They want mom's attention. That's for sure. Gosh, I don't know which direction to go from here. Do you?
Finish off, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. Do you have any other direction that you'd like to go? Because I could get on that pet peeve about the insurance stuff, because that's another thing that really pisses me off, to
Might
be
be
honest.
talking for a while.
Yeah,
then.
but yeah, I could probably spend a couple hours on that. It's almost like political to me. Look, I do my best to stay away from that, but it doesn't always happen. Yeah, it sounds like you're on the right path, Amanda, and again, I tip my hat off to you, girl, for recognizing things and wanting to make a difference. And congratulations on your baptism as well.
Thanks.
That is so huge, because I was baptized at a very young age. And I know that at least for our belief, it gets us in touch with our Holy Spirit, and we have that, and you can't go wrong, when you've got somebody like that. And for me, it's God, a higher power, leading you in the right direction. And we were talking about in the show this morning that after I lost my job, how embarrassed I was to hit my knees, because I hadn't prayed since I was probably like 13 years old, and I paced the floor for a little while thinking, I don't know, he's not going to listen to me. Look what I've been doing with my life. And it took till even during Janan's depth of her addiction, where I tried doing the same things over and over and over with the same results. I wasn't doing anything to help her. I was actually making things worse, and not realizing I was making things worse. All I wanted to do was be her husband and help her through this. And when I finally hit my knees and said, okay, God, I'm not able to do this. It's your turn. Let's see what you can do. And has there still been hard times? Absolutely.
Mhm.
However, things seem to be going a lot smoother.
Yeah.
And just for anyone out there, even if you're not struggling with addiction, you're just struggling with trauma, you're struggling with the blows that life is giving you,
Mhm.
man, just, and
Reach out.
if you're not a believer of God or the universe, Believe in something greater than you. I mean, we've had people say a mountain. Someone told you once a goldfish. It's a rock. It's a crystal. Whatever it may be, something that's greater than you. Believe in it, and you'll start realizing, man, life is going to take you down a different path, a better
Yeah.
path.
I think it's really difficult. At least for me, right? It was very difficult for me to come into recovery and come into doing the 12 steps and working a recovery program, and this whole, everybody harping on me that I have to have a higher power in order for this to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in the beginning phases, I just didn't have a higher power. There was a time when I was 14, I think, and I realized all of a sudden, I only believe in God because my friends believe in God, and on TV they believe in God, and I'm I don't want to be like everyone else and be like a biter. And so there was almost this, I think looking back on it, these years where I sought out a lot of evidence, not supporting God, right? Seeking evidence of why God wasn't real. And it took away from that. And then all of a sudden I come into recovery, and they're because I was clean and sober because I got pregnant and moved away from my issues. But it wasn't enriching. It didn't fulfill me. It wasn't helping me recover. It was just like a dry sobriety to where it wasn't fulfilling. And I started seeking out recovery and felt very much like I wasn't capable of completing any of it because I didn't have a higher power. And, there's this, this general thing that people say, just believe in this. And it's so much deeper than that. And it's so much harder than that. When I just try to just believe, it's not possible. I have to collect evidence and data and do experiments and dabble and hear this person's experience and hear how they found God and where their spiritual awakening happened, to really build an authentic relationship with God, right? Not the, your superficial bullshit, Christian, soccer bomb, believe in Jesus type of faith, but an authentic one that my children can see and recognize as being admirable, in a sense that they want to dive in and find their own authenticity with God and their own intimate relationships, because we each get one.
Yes.
We each get an intimate personal relationship with God.
Yeah.
And we get to do that just like any other relationship. When you go into a relationship and you ask questions and you're feeling through, and I think when we're married, we're oh, I would never want to be in a new relationship again. It's so uncomfortable, right? Because you got to go through all that stuff. But I have gone into a new relationship recently, and I'm kind of recognizing all those uncomfortable things are things I just did to strengthen my relationship with God, right? Ways that I was getting to know God and how he fit into my life and how he was working already in my life, versus this whole just believe. I can't, my son is going to be 18th on January 5th, and he says he is an atheist. That didn't sit right with me, but I can't tell him not to be an atheist.
Right.
I have to let him get to a place, and I have to let him want to get to a place, not me telling him he has to get there, because then it's just gonna, put us back further than we need to be. So, that was something I did. I just, however I could. Church for me didn't look like going to church and sitting through a sermon every Sunday. And, my kids would get sick at church. There was just a lot of reasons why it didn't work for me that way. So I was able to really not have this is how it has to be, right? I don't have that ingrained in my brain. So I was okay, I can do Sunday church every day with some guy that knows about God and just talk about God and talk about the Bible. And my first spiritual mentor is from South Africa. He lives in South Africa. He was born and raised a Catholic man. He's still Catholic. I will never be Catholic or switch over to Catholicism, but there's so much I learned from this man, right? And I asked him to mentor me because I know I can learn a lot from him just by hearing his experiences. not by him telling me this is how you have to do it, or this is how the Bible says. It was like real people to people, like him getting down and dirty and listening and trying to get on my level to where he can't even comprehend what it's like to not have God in your life, right? To not
Right.
believe in God. Like he doesn't even comprehend it. Yet he lets himself be brought down to a level to where he can meet me where I'm at and kind of learn and experience and grow through the whole thing with me, even though he's teaching me, right? So it really is like a difficult thing to come into recovery and not have a higher power when they hound it into you so hard. So I think it is super important. For me, at least, it was important for me to take a step back from doing my 12 steps and doing the program and really find that intimacy and that relationship with God to where I had him, right? Like I wasn't, because that is the difference now. If I go buy crack right now, none of you will know that I went and bought crack,
Yeah.
Right.
but God knows.
Somebody will.
But-
I'm not alone anymore, right? You know?
Yeah.
So it does make a huge difference. And it's
does.
everything that now when I can't get to a meeting or I can't get my recovery coach on the phone and all the people here in the facility are in their rooms isolating, I have that ability to find complete serenity and peace within me, right? Because there's a Holy Spirit within me,
Yes.
housed in my heart, you know? So we have that comfort, and that is all I want for my children. Someday, when my daughter is on the ground in the kitchen crying on the floor in a puddle of her own snot and tears, and I'm dead and gone and can't be there to help her get up and figure it out, she will have all of that. That is what's most important to me in my life, to make sure that she is okay in that moment when I'm dead and gone and can't be here. God's got her, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to have faith in that is a process, I think. For me, it was a process. I couldn't just believe it and know it. Like I had to really build it and find it, right? So yeah, sorry for rambling again, guys.
No, that was all really good. Cause with the experience that Janan and I have both gone through, I think you even told me this maybe 4 or 5 months ago, that I finally figured out the difference between religion and spirituality. Right. You know, and I get a lot of it now, a lot of it. And it's really, really helped me out in my journey, you know, of having that spirituality. And, yeah, and I'm not knocking people that are always preaching religion to others, because they're just doing their best to help someone.
Right.
Again, but it's like you with your
It's their
son.
choice
It's
too,
it's
you know?
not your place to tell your son something different, right? They have to go through their own experiences, and maybe one day he will see it, maybe he won't, right? But we can't go around telling everyone, well, this is, yeah,
You have to
You
believe in
have-
God.
you
and
have to
this
do
certain
this.
God, this certain way.
yeah. You know, I mean, look at back in the medieval days. I mean, gosh, for thousands of years, they thought how many, you know, there was like 5 or 6 or 7 gods, you know, there was a God for everything, you know, and wars were created because of it. And still
Religion.
sometimes to this day, wars are created over religion, you know, and it's just sad that we have to look at things that way. You know, we're wanting people to believe what we want them to believe in. And it's not our place. You know, we talked about it on the show this morning. It's, man, just spread more love and again, find a higher power, something, because it does help.
Your own choice.
Do like Amanda did, you know, do your own research, figure it out. You know, you don't have to believe what everyone else is saying, you know, go check things out yourself and listen to stories.
I think that a lot of times, like when you first come into recovery, I believe in God and I always have. But when you first come into recovery, you're trying to figure out what you believe and who you are and all that
Right.
stuff.
Right.
And so when I first started, I would get really curious about him. How do I know if he's answering my prayers? Those kind of
Mhm.
questions. And so what I ended up doing is ended up asking my recovery coach. I asked my sponsor. I asked a person we know on the Tribe of Giants. I asked my husband. I asked all sorts of people how they feel God in their lives. And that helped me to be able to figure out how I am having my prayers answered. And so I think all of us in recovery, as we start our journey of spirituality, we go through that kind of a thing. No matter how much you believed in him or how little you believed in him, you go through that because you're trying to learn all sorts of new things about yourself and what you believe.
And
Well, I
you
think-
probably got a different answer from everyone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think God wants us, right? He wants us to find like God's going to present himself to my son in a completely different manner than he did to me. So,
Right.
you know, it's not going to look the same for me as it does for him. Spirituality and religion, I think, is combining, right? Like we're raised on this idea that organized religion is the cause of all war, right? Like that it's organized religion is this thing, and we grow up and we're like, I don't want to be part of that evil shit, right? Like
Right.
Yeah.
it gets to a point to where we go so far with it, right? Like that I would walk into a church and I would literally feel and let myself walk out believing that everybody there was judging me, right? Like I just believed that they were judging me. So it made it real for me. They were judging me to me, right? But they weren't actually judging me. Religion is not this evil thing. There came a point where I recognized very much so, I needed religion. I needed to redefine the word religion completely because I hated it and I wanted nothing to do with it. So I had to really take all of the things that I thought religion was and redefine them into what they were. Because, you know, when I tell someone who's just lost a child to an overdose, I will, you know, pray for you and for your daughter to make an easy transition. Well, I would get to a point where I go, wow, I really have to pray, but I don't know how. Like, I don't know how to pray. Like, what am I supposed to do? So I reached out and started, you know, finding people. And my mentor online, he took me through, it was like 2 or 3 weeks. And we went through the difference between religion and spirituality and really just solidifying for me in my brain what I believe religion to be now versus when I was younger. I know I need religion for me, right? So like there are people who are going out and they're, you know, I don't get mad at the people that are pushing God. Like I understand where they're coming from. I see it. I recognize it. Might be the wrong way to go about things. Maybe they don't have enough spirituality in their life to make it more fulfilling, right? Because that's really, Jesus was religious and spiritual, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you guys, I think this was a good chat for not having any idea where we were going with it.
Absolutely. Well, you know, when you have good people on the show like yourself, Amanda, it really makes it easy. You know, this is one of the reasons why I just love doing this. A lot of times we don't have any script. Sometimes our guests come in and it's like, man, I just don't have a clue. Ask me anything. And usually all it takes just about 5 minutes within the show and we're off and running, you know.
Yeah.
And there's even been times, in all honesty, after about 15 minutes, I'm going, holy shit, are we actually going to get an hour out of this? Because it really seems like we're done. And then I don't know why I think of it,
Something will come up.
because something just blows from there and it just takes off.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about it,
God.
you know, is not having anything script and just going with the flow with whatever. Because people who watch this show get to see Amanda Marker, who she is today, and how she's looking at life and how she wants to help other people. And the same with, you know, Janan being here. And, you know, it's all about helping other people in their journey. And many of our stories are the same on this show. And you probably find the same on your show.
Mhm.
However, their journey's different, right? Every
different.
single person, their journey is different. And it has helped me in my growth so much. You know, I'm inspired every single week that just being in the studio and sitting down with all the many people that we sit with, either whether it's through Zoom or actually in person here, I'm inspired every week. And I would much rather hang, not saying that I didn't love my buddies from the past, because I did, but I would much rather be in a room full of who I know now than them, to be honest with you. And it's because of how they look at life and how they view life and the inspiration that they spread. And most of all, the love that they spread. It's just incredible.
And your old friends will be in the room with your new friends for 5 minutes and be inspired to talk about all of their heartache.
Yeah, right.
It's really cool.
Yeah, it is. It is cool. Yeah, because sometimes during an interview, man, there's things that your brain will start shuffling up, and it's like, oh yeah, and you'll share it. And after the show, sometimes I'm like, where the hell did that come from? 'Cause I haven't thought of that for a long time, you know, so it's really cool. It's all part of the process. So, Amanda, we know that you have little ones that are needing your attention. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners before we end the show? I mean, is there just a heavy message you want to get out to them?
Well, we're coming into the new year. The past few years have been super hard for all of us. And to really just give yourself that grace and recognize that these have been very difficult few years for a lot of people. Don't put pressure on yourself to be perfect and be healed and be happy and positive all the time. Cry when you need to cry. It's relief. So yes.
Definitely relief.
I don't remember the last time I didn't feel that way when I cried. It's just like, oh my gosh, that felt so good.
Yeah.
It's like punching a wall. It just feels so good and your hand doesn't hurt afterwards.
People tell me all the time, they're like, I wish I could cry like you. And I'm like, don't resist your tears, that you need them. They help you feel better.
Yeah. Well, it's the release, right? And that's why our bodies are designed to do that. We have to release those emotions. Mm-hmm. We definitely do. And I like to look at it as all those emotions that were all bottled up, they're now exiting our system through those tears.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter how many there is, we're getting rid of them.
Yep.
Right. And throughout life, we'll gather some more up, you know, and we'll release those as well. But don't be ashamed.
I just can't stop smiling.
Or
smile, just an infection.
Yeah. Easy to do, huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Amanda, my gosh, thank you so much for being our guest again for the second time. And it's always a pleasure having you. If there's anything we can do, you know, please let us know. And I think I told you this last time. Feel free with your podcast. Feel free to please share it on our platform. I mean, please do, because I don't want to be one of those ones that it's just my podcast only, because there's so many good ones out there, and yours is a really good one. And it's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to spread the message. So, you know, when you post shows, man, throw it out there on us. I mean, it's not going to hurt my feelings at all. And I've asked a lot of other people who have been on our show, I'm like, man, share it on our platform. I don't care. I'm not looking at monopolizing the frickin' podcast world.
Right.
We're wanting to help the world. So get it out there. And yeah, if you're ever in the vicinity, man, we hope we have an opportunity to meet you in person one day. And
love to meet you.
And hopefully, you know, if we could ever get out that way, we could have that opportunity as well. And keep up the good work that you are doing, and the drive and all the love that you're sharing. Just thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys keep doing awesome work. I love and appreciate you both so very much. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to wrap up the show, but please don't sign off quite yet. Okay. So, guys, again, thank you to all our guests co-hosts, all our sponsors, all our listeners, Resilience Talk Network, Brad and Mason. Thank you for everything you guys do. none of this would be possible if it wasn't for all you. It takes a team, and it takes a lot of people to build something. So, and basically, really, from even what Amanda said today, thank you, God, for allowing all this to happen, because this wouldn't be happening. The path that we have taken has actually led us to this. And
how
I'm
sexy
so lucky.
you are when you show your emotion like that.
No,
Aw.
I may have to
You guys
go
are
home
so
and
cute.
put on a manly negligee and start crying then, huh? Don't picture that, Amanda, please.
You guys are gonna have a great night.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you. Thank you for all your support and all your love. And remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.